All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of the Walk the Hawk podcast. I'm BK. We got Brandon and we got Danny here as well. And we're going to be going over a couple of different topics today. Seahawks made a couple of smaller free agency signings. We got to hear Pete and John's presser at the owners' meetings today. And then on top of that, draft is about a little less than a month away now, so it makes sense to maybe go and take a look at some of the bigger name prospects that are going to be available in the first and second rounds. So I guess to start things off, Seahawks made 2 low-key signings, but still some pretty decent ones. They signed both nickel corner Justin Coleman, previously played for Seattle, recently played for the Lions, and then last year with the Dolphins, as well as Joel, and I'm going to butcher his name. I think it's Iyiegbuniwe, and the G is silent. Joel Iyiegbuniwe. He's a linebacker, primarily special teamer. I think he's played his entire career so far in Chicago. Another Desai guy. Hasn't really gotten many snaps on the defensive side of the ball, so get to see what he can do. In that case, good depth signing for the most part. Coleman signed for vet minimum too, which is very surprising just because he actually had a pretty decent season in Miami. Let me go pull up his PFR stats here. Yeah, from Pro Football Reference, last season in Miami, he had 2 picks, 3 pass deflections. He didn't play in many games. He played in 4 games, started 2 of them. Played in all 16 games, started 4 of them. 27 combined tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Granted, he's a nickel corner. He's not exactly lining up and doing much blitzing, but yeah, still some pretty solid stats. For some reason, I thought he was way older. I guess he's only 28. This will be his 8th season in the NFL. For some reason, I feel like he's been around forever. But yeah, what do you guys think about those 2 signings?
So I guess I'll go ahead and start. So with Justin Coleman, I really liked him in Seattle. He got a big contract coming to Detroit, and I would have liked to keep him. But, just for that price, it's insane what we can get out of him. And he could definitely be our starting nickel corner. I think even at his worst, he's probably better than Amadu. And, yeah, looking at the stats, he's able to force turnovers. He's been very consistent. He's more, Pete and John know a lot about him because I believe before he went to England, I think that he was in our training camp at some point. Mm-hmm. I did hear about that. So in 2015. So he's been around for a while, but I think, he has a lot of potential. And, he's just he's a guy who could be a ball hawk for us. And with Joel, not even going to try and pronounce that last name, but, it's another athletic linebacker. He worked with Desai in Chicago. And I think we need as much competition for Barden and Ben Burkervin as possible. Depth guys, but, I think he does have a chance. He seems like a motivated guy. Pretty athletic. I think that he could definitely work his way into the starting role with us. And with letting go of Bobby and getting younger at linebacker, we need all the speed we get, especially in division with all these young offensive coaches who scheme very well in the running game and get their playmakers in space. We need players to stop that. So I really like both these signings.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Joel. I saw he was a solid special teamer. That's it. I think Justin Coleman could easily be the best signing of the offseason by Seattle. I think the guy's probably the most underrated nickel corner in the NFL. He was the best nickel corner in the NFL when he was with Seattle at his was here for like 2 seasons, maybe 1 even. And you know what? I think that's the kind of guy that, you'll see major differences between him and Ugo, because Ugo is, he's like the worst player in the NFL. So I think that's probably that might be the best signing, contract wise, and just as how much help he needed in the backfield on defense. So I love the Justin Coleman signing, and it's really big for our defense this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. Yeah, I wonder if this could possibly preclude an Ugo cut, but I'm not sure. If there's going to be an Ugo cut, I think it's going to be closer to the start of the season, maybe in training camp. if you release Ugo, I think you save like 2.5 million against the cap this season. But honestly, I think Pete and John kind of see this year as a bit of a throwaway. So I don't really know. They might just throw both of them at it and then have like a battle that they had like they did at center last season between Kyle Fuller and Ethan Posick. That wasn't really a battle because Posick was injured for pretty much all of training camp last year. Actually,
do you guys think that also?
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, do you guys think that maybe Ugo could compete with Blair because he's been injured so often, but he can also play that nickel corner a little bit. Marquise Blair could play a lot of different roles, possibly some safety, maybe even potentially some third down linebacker, possibly. He has a lot of different roles he could play.
So I've heard this take a couple of times, and I don't know if I believe it, but I've heard that like Pete did not like the Blair pick, like at all. That apparently that was more of a John Schneider guy. And just the way that he's been used, I want to say that could be a possibility. Like he played good his rookie season and then like lost basically his sophomore season to injury and then came back and just was not the same player. Granted, we've been playing him out of position ever since we traded for Quandre Diggs. And I think that Quandre Diggs trade was necessitated by, I don't think Pete believes in Blair at all.
I didn't even touch the field back when he was a rookie because we had Tedrick Thompson playing in front of him. And Tedrick Thompson was so bad, and then you go trade for Quandre. It's like you didn't even give the rookie a chance. That's got to be one of the worst draft picks, by how he's been used. Like, you started with LJ, and then you went to Marquise Blair, and then Marquise Blair with a ton of potential at safety, and you don't even play him at safety. It's just brutal.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. So, speaking of Posick, actually, it wasn't really reported on a ton, but he got signed by the Browns earlier today as their replacement for J.C. Treader. Definitely a downgrade, but also probably going to be a lot cheaper for him.
I think because I'm pretty sure they have a center there by the name. I could have this wrong. I do have this wrong. His name's Nick something, but there is a center that's starting in Cleveland that was the backup there last year. So I think Ethan Posick just got signed as the backup in Cleveland.
Do you guys know what happened to J.C. Treader? Wasn't that their center for a little bit?
I think he's still he got released. He's still a free agent.
Released, yeah.
He's still a free agent, I think.
Yeah, sure. I think Posick for Cleveland, that could be good. They have two really good running backs, and his strength is run blocking. So yeah,
definitely.
We'll see how that goes.
I mean, I like Posick. He was an above-average center for us last season, and I hope he does well. Yeah. So if I go on to the Cleveland Browns roster, Ethan Posick is listed as the starter ahead of Nick Harris is his name. But granted, these depth charts are made by the social media people. Yeah. So
I think he'll do good with what's the guards their name? Wyatt Teller and
Joel Bitonio. Yeah.
Those. So I think just slotting in between them will make him look like an all-pro, honestly. So
yeah, they probably have one of the best guard tandem. Well, before Ali Marpet retired, I would say the Buccaneers are the best. I think that the Browns may have the best guard duo in the NFL now. I mean, there's other teams that have a better guard, like you got Zach Martin and you got Quentin Nelson, but I think that
for duo-wise, you're right, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so that kind of goes over some of the more interesting free agency stuff that's gone on. I mean, we're pretty much out of all the big names for the most part have been signed. There's a couple that are still out there to get. But let's shift topics a little bit. So today was the owners meeting, I think, and there were some interviews today done by John Schneider and by Pete Carroll. I haven't had a chance to watch them yet, but I have heard some of the or read some of the sound bites on Twitter and stuff. But how about you guys take the reins on that and just give me your thoughts?
I actually did not even, I knew they were having the owners meeting. I heard about the overtime rule being changed, pretty interesting, and a bunch of other stuff, but I did not even know about the meetings. I should have checked that out because I would have loved to hear what Pete and John have to say, because they're always super interesting, to listen to. So
Mhm.
I can't give you guys much, but I really want to hear about it from you guys, if anybody
I-
has.
I listened to all 38 minutes of Pete Carroll on my lunch break today, and it was kind of funny because he was asked a question about Travis Homer, and he talked maybe for like 30 seconds about Travis Homer, and then he was like, "But let me tell you guys about Rashad Penny," and he talked for a good 4 minutes about how good and how excited he is that Rashad Penny is back, and it's so funny because the guy asked about Travis Homer, and if I'm Travis Homer watching that video, I'm just like, "Really, Pete?"
Sorry, you cut off for a second. What were you saying after you said?
Like, Pete's got to be the most successful. Where did I end off?
No, that you were talking about. You said that you talked for 4 minutes about Rashad Penny, and then you kind of cut off when you were talking about how Travis Homer would feel. I think we just blurred out for like 45 seconds.
Okay, that's all good. No, I'm just saying, if I was Travis Homer watching that press conference, I'd feel a little bit down because the question was asked about Travis Homer, and he continued and continued about Rashad Penny.
That sucks because Homer's good too.
Pete is super excited about Rashad Penny. He kind of just said he basically said even with Chris Carson back, Rashad Penny is going to be our number one running back. He said he compared Rashad Penny to Jim Brown, which was stupid. I'm not even lying. Go watch the interview.
God,
Pete talked a lot about the defensive transition and how Kerry Hyder and Carlos Dunlap were cuts because of the transition into the 3-4. But then he goes on to say, our outside guys are going to be 3-4 outside linebackers, but really it's just going to look the same, which is, a Pete thing. It probably won't look the same. There'll be aspects that look the same. We are going to have a new defense next year, and a lot of the signings have shown that they will.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know why you go and completely cut your 3 veteran defensive linemen and completely restructure how you do that front 7 if you don't plan to change up your defense at least a little bit.
And I just want to talk about our defensive line right now, because I seriously think it might be one of the most underrated in the league at this point, especially our interior D line, with Puna, Al Woods, Shelby Harris, and Quentin Jefferson. I'll take those 4 guys together over a defensive line of I guess the Chiefs just lost Jaron Reed now, so who do they have left? They got
Frank Clark.
Frank Clark and Chris Jones.
Right?
Chris Jones.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll take our interior D line over the Chiefs. I'll probably take our interior D line over the Packers, even though they got Kenny Clark. But Jaron Reed is not that good anymore. And Jaron Reed is one of the most interesting players in the league, because in 2018, when he had 11 and a half sacks, he hasn't been anywhere close to that since. So what an absolute win. I was disappointed when he was cut. What an absolute right decision to sign Al Woods and cut Jaron Reed that year. That's one of those wins by John Schneider that I think just goes under the radar.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When he got that 2-year extension from Pete, I thought that was I thought that was a stupid move. And he did fine that his first season, but I'm glad he was gone after that. He's been replacement level for the most part.
For me, I was always high on, just because coming out of that draft, I was actually kind of into it. He was people thought he was kind of stealing the second round. He was on the same defensive line, but I might have been Jonathan Allen, I want to say, and he was a beast at Bama. But as we see, a lot of players are insane at Alabama and then end up being kind of mad in the NFL. So
yeah.
he did put up a lot of production, but a lot of those also could have been cover sacks. Different players, forcing things from the interior that helped them out getting these sacks. So looking back at it now, paying the guy 2 years, $20 million or whatever he got was that was never paid for sure. So right.
Exactly. And if you look at even let's go back to Clowney actually. We brought Clowney in, we thought he was going to be this big guy, and then we realized, well, Clowney is good. He's not going to get you big sack numbers. He's a big disruptor. He commands double teams, but it doesn't really matter if he commands double teams if nobody else on your line is getting pressure.
Yeah.
And even with Jadeveon Clowney hitting those double teams, Jaron Reed could not do anything. I think he got maybe 2.5. I think he got like 2.5 sacks that season.
Yeah, our defensive line in 2019 was so bad.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing, to be honest, and especially because they hyped up the signing of Ziggy Ansah so much. And,
Oh, God.
it was a bad year for the team, honestly.
1 year, $9 million, just like straight down the drain.
Right.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, I mean, Jadeveon Clowney can be a stud when the guy opposite of him is 10 times better than him. But in my eyes, Jadeveon Clowney is just a cleanup guy. He's elite in the run game. I don't know how guys as athletic and, physically dominant as him can't get his bend right. And I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, the bend, but when a defensive end bends a tackle, he is a stiff man.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, hey, when you're opposite Myles Garrett, I mean, you'll be fine, I think.
Yeah, no, and he did have a good year with Cleveland this year, and I think that's why he's still holding out, trying to get his $60 million contract that he's been trying to get for the past 4 years. It's not happening, Jadeveon. You're a level 2 pass rusher in this league.
Yep.
What we were talking about last time, though, I would still love to have him back just to complete this defensive, this pass rush. I mean, I know that I don't want to pay him a lot, but if we can get him for 2-3 years, maybe $7 a year, which I don't think he would ever take.
I don't think Clowney would sign a 2-year deal unless it was like 2 years, like $45 million. The guy just absolutely wants his money.
I know, it's been like forever.
And no team wants to put that much money into him, which sucks because I think he's a really good player for the right team, and I think he would fit with us. Besides Darryl Taylor.
Yeah, be awesome.
So changing gears a little bit here. The draft is a little less than a month away. For the most part, I think most people's big boards are pretty set in stone now. We've had the Senior Bowl, we've had the Combine. Most every player has had their pro day. So we kind of know going forward what we're kind of going to see from these players, I'd say. So let's take a second, and I just kind of wanted to go through my tier list. I think there's 3 positions that I would be okay with the Seahawks taking here in the first round. In order, they are edge rusher, or offensive tackle, edge rush, then cornerback. So if we take a look at that, we'll go down the list of basically my my big board. So first off, you got your tier zeros. Your tier zeros are the guys that are amazing. I would love the Seahawks to get them, but there's literally 0 chance that they're going to be available at 9. And I don't see us trading up to get any of these guys. So you got Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Some people have him as their top prospect on their boards. I have him at number 2. But he is easily the best edge rusher in this class, I'd say, but there's no way he falls to us at 9. I have him going to Jacksonville at number 1 overall. And then switching gears to offensive tackle, you have Ike Mekwonu, who is the best run blocker in this draft by far and away. And in my opinion, he's not the best overall offensive tackle in the draft. I think that's Evan Neal, who's the other one that I don't think will fall to us at 9. But yeah, if any of them fall to us at 9, something seriously bad has happened to them in some form.
Like a Laramie Tunsil situation.
Yeah, like pretty much. Or God, did you guys hear about there was one that linebacker from LSU. I forget his name. I gotta go look it up.
What happened?
Damon Clark. Oh yeah, he had to get surgery to fuse 2 of his vertebrae back together.
Oh, I did hear about that.
So he's basically gone from probably a high 2nd round pick to probably not being drafted, which is it's freaking terrible to hear about that. Anyway, so sad, but moving on. Just goes to show that sometimes, Ojabo tore his Achilles, which sucks. But I don't think that's going to drop him out of the first round. I think it's going to drop him probably out of the top 20, but I think somebody's going to take a chance on him and they're going to be very happy. So now moving on to my tier ones. So in tier one, these are the guys that I still think they won't be available at 9, but I think there is a better chance that they'll be there than the others. There's enough of a chance that I think they will drop that I'm going to entertain the idea. They are number one, probably going into the offseason, he was projected as being the first guy off the board, and that's Kayvon Thibodeau, edge rusher out of Oregon. So, I mean, dude has insane bend. He would definitely play outside linebacker in this 3-4 scheme. There are some concerns from coaches and other Seahawks fans that I talked to about his like off the field stuff and like, does he actually like care about the game like enough to actually like make a difference on the field? But if he really is like invested in the team and in the game, then I don't really have a problem with that. But he's
Yeah,
like
I think those are really weird reports, and I'm not sure I really believe them. I think the guy is going to see cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching when he starts getting big sack numbers, and that's how you motivate somebody.
Yeah, that's what I hope too. So anyway, if he falls to you at 9, like he's such a huge talent that I think you gotta jump on that. And the other one I have
my Zoom thing said we have a 10-minute limit or something at a time. I have no idea why that is.
for a free meeting.
I don't know if we have to change it to your Zoom or something. It just said I don't even know that we have to like purchase more time or something.
That's really weird. We'll go and I guess until it
until it does it, and then we can switch to a new one if it does do anything. Just give me a notification.
Anyway, so moving on. So Kayvon Thibodeau, I think he's going to be insane. The other one I have is Charles Cross, the tackle out of Mississippi State. So while Ike Ekwonu, I said, was the best run blocker in the draft, I think Charles Cross is the opposite. He is the best pass blocker by far and away in this draft class. He does need to improve in the run against the run. I mean, he's 6'5", 305. He needs to put on a bit more weight, but his technique is amazing. His hands are really good. He's really able to anchor and like great in move blocking. So I think he would be a fantastic pickup. But then again, we all know how much Pete and John seem to value elite pass blocking in the NFL. So that would, if he's available, I'd love to get Cross. But I think my favorite player that we should absolutely draft that I think will be available at 9, and I know for a fact that, or not for a fact, but I'm pretty sure Pete won't go for him, as Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati. He has the makings of a Pete Carroll corner, just everything that he does. Granted, he didn't really play in like a super competitive division in college, but I think the dude is everything that Richard Sherman was, but he's faster. That's how I would compare him.
I've seen a lot of rumors about Ahmad going mid first or mid top 10. I think the Jets and the Giants are looking at him, especially the Giants, since they have 2 top 10 picks.
Mm-hmm.
I would be surprised if he got there, but I think it's much more realistic. If we're going to take a corner, it'll be Derek Stingley, just by how the draft board will go.
Yeah, that could very well be the case, and I would be totally fine with that too, because Derek Stingley is still an insanely good like talent. Like,
there's lots of people who still believe that Derek Stingley is the number 1 corner of this draft by far.
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's like 1A, 1B, and you could make you could find justification to put either of them ahead of the other. But I think that just shows like how good both of them are. Because like going into this draft, well, I would say at the start of this season, there was no doubt in anybody's mind who the top corner in this draft was going to be, and it was Derek Stingley, even before this past season happened. And the fact that they're so close now, I think just goes to show like how insane of a talent Gardner is. So it'll be really cool, interesting to watch. For sure.
Gardner, he tested super well at the combine, but I think Jets and Giants, both of them were linked to him, I guess. So, that'll be pretty interesting. But I feel like one of the things I'd say just about our number 9 pick at this point is because of the fact we added Coleman and we added Artie Burns. At this point, I feel like maybe we would wait. If we were going to do that, we'd either trade down or wait to the second or third round, just because I feel like, for our defense, the main thing is probably, just building an insane pass rush. I think is a little bit more important at this point, in my personal opinion, even though the talent and value at 9 might be better for the corners, because if we get Gardner or Stingley, both those are generational talents. So I'd be happy with those guys too. But I really like what you say about Charles Cross. I mean, I'm not a huge college. Well, I do love college football. My team is Mississippi State for no reason at all. So I've watched a good amount of them, and he really played well against Bama. He's a great pass blocker. You can see in Mike Leach's system, they have a lot of experience doing it. So with whatever quarterback we have under center, I'd love to have great pass blocking. And I feel like he's also worth it there. But that I'd say that's probably if we don't get one of the corners, or if Thibodeau doesn't fall, or we don't get Cross, I'd say
potentially, like they always do, trading down a few picks isn't the worst idea.
Yeah,
sure. That's what I think is going to happen, to be honest, because I don't know if I see Pete and John loving Charles Cross as much as we do, and I don't see Ekem or Evan Neal falling to us. But I have a feeling, I just have a feeling that John Schneider and Pete are looking at a guy like Trevor Penning and saying, "Oh man, we could get him at 12, we could get him at 13, and then pick up a second rounder."
Yeah, you definitely could. I would not be opposed to trading back a few spots and getting Trevor Penning. There's one guy I talked to that's convinced that we need to take Penning at 9, and I'm like, I don't know where you're getting that from, but I would be totally fine with trading down a few spots to get Penning. He's a stout run blocker, and he just pancakes guys.
Yeah, you're right. This is what's interesting about the Seahawks to me is how everybody, all football fans, have these ideas that the premier talents or premier positions in football are quarterback, edge rusher, corner, and offensive tackle. And we are the only team in the league with holes at all 4 of those positions. So I personally think we're grabbing a tackle in the first, just because of how this Dwayne Brown and I guess you could say left tackle and right tackle situation are playing out. Sounds like they're going to run with Curhan at right tackle, which I think is a good move for a year like this. I think he's proven enough to be given a starting role for this coming year, which is a throwaway year, as you called it, BK. But I mean, I want to see them grab corner first round. It's been so long since we've had an elite corner, and it's just it was so much easier to watch football back when we had Sherman on the back end, because you just know that the left side of the field was locked up and there was nothing that could happen on that side. And I think Pete is looking at Ahmad and saying, if that guy falls to us, we'll take him. But then again, you also think Pete and John have never taken a corner in the first round or the second round.
Yeah.
So they might look at a guy like Tariq Woolen. Can we grab him in the third and turn that guy into the next Sherman, right?
Yeah, Tariq Woolen is a very intriguing prospect. Went to a small school, but he blew up the Senior Bowl, and he had a pretty good combine too. So he's actually flying up boards. I'm trying to remember where I had him graded. Yeah, I had him at
we can't go into the season though with Stone Forsythe starting a tackle in this division with pass rushers. No, it's not going to be pretty. So
if they come,
they're definitely with what they've done, it seems like they're aiming more towards getting a tackle, at least in the first 2 rounds.
If they come out of this draft and they did not draft a left tackle with either pick 9, pick 40, or pick 41, because I think there's still going to be some good tackles available. Then I'm going to lose my mind, because I don't know what it's going to take for them to realize, having an elite left tackle is kind of important, no matter who's behind center. Even if it is Drew Lock, I still don't want to see the kid get killed. Nobody wants to see that.
No, you're right. And I think they value left tackle. I mean, they didn't pay Russell Okung, but they did take him. What was it, sixth overall? Was that when he was drafted?
Yeah, I think six
I
overall.
believe so, yeah. Six.
Yeah, so I mean that could be a move, drafting a tackle there. But then again, the tackle that we love might not be the tackle that they love, right? Remember when they took
Yeah.
what's his name?
It's like a fatty.
Lindsay Lindsay the center from or the guard from Alabama that we
Oh,
drafted.
James Carpenter. James Carpenter. Right?
James Carpenter,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Remember that came out of nowhere and what's the head coach of Alabama's name? Saban. And they panned the camera to Nick Saban and his face was like, who did they just take?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, sort of jumping back to the tackle position. I currently have 4 guys going in the first round. I got, like I mentioned, Ike Ekwonu from NC State, Evan Neal from Alabama, Charles Cross from Mississippi State, and then Danny, you mentioned Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa, who, if they trade back in the first round, I think that's a fantastic get for sure. So taking a look at who might be available at pick 40 and 41, I think the name PFF is super high on this guy, and like other people think that he's a late second, early third rounder. But Bernard Ryman out of Central Michigan is from Austria. He played tight end before he moved to tackle. Dude, 6'7", 305 pounds. So he's like Colby Parkinson, but even bigger. But yeah, he's only been playing offensive tackle for 2 years. But watching his tape, he is very mobile. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that like comes out about him. He has great hand placement. His technique still needs work for sure, because he's still kind of new to the position. So he's definitely not, he's very raw. He's going to need time to develop. But as far as like developing a left tackle of the future, I would be cool with a Bernard Ryman pickup. If you're looking at right tackle, you got Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. Abraham Lucas, if you want, from Washington State, if you want a local guy. I think he's from Everett, actually, if I remember correctly. They're just a little north of Seattle. And then if you're looking more late second round, you got Nicholas Petit Frere. I think I butchered that name, from Ohio State, but he can play either on the left side or the right side. I think he'll probably transition to right tackle at the NFL level. Yeah, if there's a couple of positions that this draft class is loaded up at, it's at both the offensive and defensive line for sure. So I don't know. Do you guys have any sleeper like tackle picks that you would like look to grab? Maybe on like day 2.
What was that now?
Like, yes, Bernard is one of them. Daniel Falele is another.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's a guy out of Louisiana named Max Mitchell.
Oh yeah, I heard about him. Yeah.
He's projected to go in the second round. I don't know much about him, but I mean, this class is loaded with tackles and edge rushers.
Yeah. We'll get to the edge rushers. Let me go. I'm just going to go take a look at his draft report. Yeah. The nice thing is he can play either. It sounds like he can play either left tackle or right tackle. So this is on the Draft Network. This is their description. Former 2-star recruit, has been a key contributor for the Raging Cajun program since his freshman year. Over his career at ULL, Mitchell has managed to contribute/start in more than 40 games. Following his junior year, he was named All Sun Belt second team. He does play at a smaller school. He has competed at a high level and even spent time in the top 25. Mitchell was able to get experience playing good competition. He played Power 5 programs like Texas, Iowa State, and played well in both of those games. He's very athletic and can get great depth in his pass set to beat defenders to the point. Mitchell also has good lateral movement, which I think is going to be very important, especially in this scheme. Premier pass rushers. He does have good lateral movement. He does lack upper body strength, so he is going to probably get beat by more power rushers. So yeah, I think he would be a decent pickup for sure. He's been one of the more underrated guys in this class for sure, I think.
Yeah, and then another guy that's late first, early second guy that might fall to us for 40 is Zion Johnson. The guard offensive tackle. He can play both from Boston College. He's more of a guard, but he can play right tackle. He has played right tackle. I don't know. That might be something that the Seahawks might look at and say, holy crap, maybe we can, have a guy that can back up Gabe Jackson and start at right tackle if Curhan isn't what, they're looking for. But, yeah, I don't know. I think the tackles that they're looking at, in my opinion, just for how Pete Carroll likes his things, is Trevor Penning. I just think I think that's a prospect that the Seahawks are in love with.
Yeah, I think so too. And I would not be opposed. I watched him play one time, and he was a monster. He does have a bad habit of throwing his defenders into his QB's knees, which is not ideal.
Which is a huge problem. Huge problem.
But hopefully he can clean that up at the next level.
Yeah, I know you guys saw those videos from the Senior Bowl. It's like, what are you doing?
That was hilarious, but also not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious until your quarterback is out for the season with a torn ACL due to the left tackle. Oof.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm kind of with you guys on that I think they'll probably go that direction. Also, the guy at Central Michigan, being a former tight end, we also know Pete Carroll loves that type of athletes play a tackle. So I mean,
he loves
that. Could be good, especially in this scheme, just having somebody athletic.
He loves that. He loves that George Fant.
Swing
tackle.
Yeah.
The swing tackle that can run routes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Don't even talk about that.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about probably my favorite position group in this entire draft class, which I think is most people's, and that is the edge class is absolutely loaded to the gills. At 9, I kind of mentioned it briefly, but there's two guys that I would take at 9 in a heartbeat. You got Trayvon Walker out of Georgia, who there is this hilarious picture of him like in the championship game this past year where he literally has 4 offensive linemen like trying to block him. And I thought like, oh, that can't be like every play. It's like, it's almost every play. He commands double teams and triple teams like nobody's business. And he can fit in a 3-4. He can fit in a 4-3. I think he is what Clint Hurt dreams of when he's like trying to rebuild this offensive line or defensive line, excuse me. And then the other one,
you're talking about who?
Trayvon Walker.
Oh, you mean the second favorite to go number 1 overall or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where I have him. Yeah, I have him as like the third. I have Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau going before him, but I've seen a couple mock drafts that have mocked him as going number 1 overall. Like that's how much of a monster this guy is.
He's ran up the mock drafts lately.
Yeah. I had a lot of people have him going to Detroit too. If they don't trade down, which they're looking into doing, that could be a good anchor for their defense.
Yeah, that would be wild. And the other one who is not that far behind Trayvon Walker is Jermaine Johnson. I had him as like a 2nd round pick in like prior to the Senior Bowl, and then he went and absolutely proceeded to wipe the floor with every single offensive lineman that he went up against. And that just like shot him up everybody's board. So he has the size to play with his hand in the dirt. But I think his real spot, he'll probably play outside linebacker for this team.
Seattle needs to get out of this draft with a premier edge talent. And with
Mhm.
Daryl Taylor, like there's no reason why we shouldn't have one of a top 10, edge duo next year, honestly.
Oh yeah.
And
mean-
I honestly, I look at Trayvon, and I don't know if he gets to us, but I think Pete Carroll looks at Trayvon and says, "This is what I dreamed of LJ Collier being."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Trayvon Walker, he can play on the inside and he can play on the outside, which is like,
yeah. I mean, do you guys see a little Michael Bennett in him?
what was Michael Bennett? I'm trying to remember like what Michael
know
Bennett's like measurables were because Trayvon Walker.
He's
So Trayvon
6'5",
Walker
275.
6'5", 270. What was Michael Bennett? Granted, I know it changes year to year, but I'm just trying to get like a general idea. Michael, I'm just gonna look at his like draft. So he was 6'2", 287. So he was a little shorter, but also a little heavier than Trayvon. But I think getting him into an NFL weight program, I think he could easily be that Michael Bennett type guy.
Yeah, NFL.com had Michael Bennett at 6'4", 275.
Oh wow.
There's a lot of Michael Bennett's. There's another defensive tackle I remember from like 2015. Michael Bennett went to Ohio State. There's a running back, but Michael Bennett, he's more of he's a little bit bigger of a player than Trayvon. So, Trayvon Walker ran like a low 4.5, so it's part of his hype, I think. So
Yeah. So
it might be a little different. But
I mean, geez, I would love Trayvon Walker. I just, man.
oh yeah.
I don't know if he gets to us, but would you guys agree that one of Trayvon, Kayvon, it rhymes, or Jermaine will get to us?
I
yeah,
think
sure,
I think at least one of them will make it. Maybe two, but I don't see any more than three.
No, I don't
see
at 9 either.
Just curious,
Yeah.
guys. One of the other edge rushers that I've heard a lot about that I watched a little bit. I just watched like a little bit of his tape, and people think he's a little underwhelming of an athlete, but he was pretty productive. Is Karlaftis? What do you guys think of him? Because you guys will know a little more than I will probably on that.
Yeah, he's Karlaftis is good. He's more of a power rusher. He's not going to beat you with his speed.
Yeah,
but I think if you trade back and for some reason, if they trade back and they don't get either Walker or Johnson, I'm going to be pissed. But if you trade back into like the 20s or something, I think Karlaftis is a good pick.
Yeah.
But I really hope they don't do that.
No, I don't want them to do that either. Because remember, I don't know if you guys heard John Schneider on one of his pregame radio interviews. He was talking about like the season, how it was just bad, and especially being in this division, he was like, you look at the Rams, the Cards, and the 49ers, and how they've all had top 10 picks. And he said that, and here's your chance, John. You have a top 10 pick. Don't trade back. Take the best available, guy, whether it's tackle or edge, preferably edge, and let's build this defense up again, like the right way with a big front seven. And also, John Schneider today talked about Cody Barton. He loves Cody Barton. He's very excited for Cody Barton. I don't know if Cody Barton's going to play middle or weak side linebacker. My dream would be Brooks at middle and Barton at weak side. But I have a feeling that Cody Barton's going to be our middle linebacker next year.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they take an inside linebacker somewhere on day 2.
No, not. I expect them to take a linebacker, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so there's a lot of good options here. If you were going to wait, and if you were going to like maybe get a corner or either a Sauce Gardner or Derek Stingley or a Charles Cross at 9, and you waited until round 2 to get a edge rusher, There's a couple of really intriguing options. Cameron Thomas out of San Diego State is up there for me. Early on, like there were a couple of guys that were like comparing him to like a discount JJ Watt, just that like big end. But like he's kind of fallen off of a lot of people's radars. But I still think that he would be a good pickup in round 2. Same with Logan Hall out of Houston. I think he's Trayvon. He's a discount Trayvon Walker. If you miss him in the first round, he can play that like in a 4-3. He can play that 5 tech position, or he can play that big end that you're looking for in this 3-4. But I really hope they more worry about like either like guys who can play like that outside linebacker role, because I think that big end. I think we're pretty well set with. I think Shelby Harris is going to be pretty good for us this season for sure. Like you said, Danny, this is like one of the most. I think it's one of the more underrated defensive lines in the league right now.
Yeah, I agree. If we're going to go for anybody, we need to go off the edge and get another real, just like another guy with big pass rush potential. Because right now, outside of with the guy we signed from the Chargers and Darryl Taylor and also Alton Robinson, we don't really have that speed edge on the roster that's solidified yet. So I really think we need to get 1 or 2 of them in this draft to compete, and then we could also maybe at some point address another big end too. Even though I feel like that front 4 is very strong, with the addition of Quinn and Jefferson.
Yeah,
you guys know Pete's probably looking at everything and thinking, "Oh man, what if we just traded back twice and got Kaiir Elam from Florida?"
I like Kaiir Elam.
I do too,
but I'm not. God, I hope we don't trade back far enough in the first to take him. I would 100% expect them to trade one of these second round picks though for more picks.
Yeah, I do too.
Which I'm fine with. I think they need them. They need to reload after only having 3 picks last season.
Yeah, and this is a really good draft to be able to do something like that. I don't know much about next year's draft, and we have 2 first round picks. But this year's draft, if you're gonna trade down, you have options with 40 and 41.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man. This is one of the deepest drafts in a long time. It'd be interesting if there was a couple good quarterbacks in this draft. And I know there is with Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis. Those are good quarterback prospects. But could you imagine if this draft class had the QBs from last season with Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence and everything? Like,
yeah,
who knows what this class would look like, right?
It would be absolutely. This would be one of the best draft classes of all time. I think it's just underrated because there really isn't like any number one like QB in this draft. Like I've seen a couple of people make the point that like if you were to put the QBs from last draft into this draft, every single one of them would have been taken before any QB in this draft. And
I'm honestly surprised why Rattler then didn't declare, because I mean, even though he had a bad season last year, just with his upside, he could definitely sneak his way into the 2nd, 3rd round, I think, this year.
I don't even think he would.
I don't know. I mean, he didn't have a great tape last year, but I think he could really go to get further.
Spencer Rattler might be a lost cause at this point. I don't know. Maybe he'll fix it in South Carolina. But anyways, boys, I do have to head out of here now. I'm sorry for leaving early, but
no, it's okay. I think we've actually like discussed like a lot of the stuff I want to, we kind of wanted to today. So
we were going to talk about the DK trade, but maybe we could do that next time. But the DK trade rumors, I mean, I think we can all kind of agree we probably don't want to trade him. At least in my eyes, I would not want to do that with all we've given up. That would suck. So
yeah,
I don't want it to happen. I don't see it happening. I'm going to end it there. That's it.
We're saying like you've already traded like one of your long-standing like stalwarts at linebacker and your franchise QB. If you trade the only real superstar you still have left on this roster, the fans are going to riot. And you can't do that.
I like the fact that he wants to be a leader too this year. That's encouraging because he's had some issues with a little bit of maturity issues, but with him really wanting to step up, I think that's going to be cool. Good thing to see.
That's a fireable offense, and I think they've had a couple of those the past few years anyways. But
yeah.
Anyway, thanks guys for jumping on. This is a ton of fun. And yeah, next week, hoping that a DK trade doesn't happen, but if it does happen in the next 2 weeks, at least we'll have something to talk about. So thanks guys for jumping on, and thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. to the Walk the Hawk podcast channel. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one and go Hawks.
All right, later, boys.